Hello friends, I am Shane Desai and in today's video we are going to explore about Coleridge's famous poem or ballad, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Now in this particular video I am just not going to explain the summary of this poem, but we will also analyze a critical points about this poem. So this video will be more about critical analysis of this poem, and my main focus or my main goal in this particular video is to explain the role of the ocean, right, the role of the sea in this particular poem. And as you can see the title on this first slide, that Coleridge's artistic representation of sea in this poem. So how does the ocean or the sea counter reacts to the absurd act of killing the seabird, that is albatross. The sea will be at the center of this poem. So let's begin our poem, the critical evaluation explanation of this poem. So yes, these are some of the critical aspects of this poem. Now this particular video will help you to understand and examine the role of ocean in the genesis and the development of the literature. Now from the very beginning, the ocean or the sea has played a very important or vital role in the genesis and the development of literature, in evoking the imaginations of the writers, be it dramatists like Shakespeare, novelists like Conrad and Hemingway, or poets like Byron and Coleridge, right? The second point is, what is the significance of the ocean in the genre of poetry? Now the ocean in the, as I told, that in the genesis or the emergence of the literature has played a very vital role, and here in this video we will analyze that how the ocean plays a significant role, an upper hand in the genre of poetry from the emergence of the literature, right? The English literature in particular, the ocean has contributed immensely. If I quote in the words of William J. Long, then our first poetry, that is Beowulf, Beowulf has the sea playing a major role in the poem. If you are aware about the summary or the poem Beowulf, then the monster named Grendel, after killing 30 of its sleeping warriors, takes their bodies into his lair under the sea to devour them. So here in this particular poem, that is the first poem of the English literature, the sea plays a very vital and important role, right? The third point is problematizing and critiquing the stereotypical notion that the human rational beings have the superiority on the cosmos or the non-human. So yes, now this also helped me to thought while reading this poem, that who gave the upper hand, who gave the superiority, or who gave the higher authority to the humans on the non-human beings. And this particular poem, in this particular poem, Coleridge also raises the same question, that why that ancient mariner killed the albatross without any reason, and who gave this authority on nature, and why this rational human beings are considered as rational. It is a quality only human beings pursue. So why these human beings harm the nature, and who gave them this authority? The fourth point is analyzing that the non-human entities, in this case ocean, nature has sentiency in it. Now here sentiency, which means the ocean also has a kind of emotions, and the ocean also acts over here as a protector, as a savior, by revenging or by avenging the absurd killing or the motiveless killing of the albatross by the ancient mariner. So these are some critical aspects we are going to explore in this particular poem, right? Yes, moving forward, the sea ocean has played a very pivotal and central role in evoking the imaginations of writers and poems. This I discussed earlier, that any writer or poet has taken inspiration from the water, or from the sea, or from the ocean, right? As I told, Shakespeare, Conrad's famous work, right? The Heart of Darkness, Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. So these are some of the works which has the sea or the ocean in its center, right? And poets like Byron and Coleridge, they also talked a lot about water and ocean. The first ever poem, yes, second point also I discussed, that Beowulf. Beowulf also has the reference of ocean or sea in it, right? Coming to the third point, Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner portrays the abundant force of nature, ocean, emerging out of the absurd act of killing the albatross. Yes, so as I told, this particular poem, Coleridge's poem, portrays abundant force of nature, which is emerged out of the absurd or the motiveless act of killing the seabird albatross, which is a part of marine or oceanic ecology or ecosystem. So after the act of killing this albatross, the poem portrays or the poem depicts how the ocean takes revenge for this, and how the ocean gradually and meticulously places certain incidents which lead the ancient mariner and the sailors to their doom or into the Lapsarian state, right? So here Lapsarian state means falling from a better state, right? Falling to a worse condition from being into a better state. That is what Lapsarian state is. The fourth point also says the same. It shows the counter reaction of the ocean after this act, how the ocean reacts after this act of killing albatross. The fifth point, now if a comparative analysis of this narrative is made with the biblical event of fall of man, then the albatross can be taken as a substitute for the forbidden fruit, leading the mariner and man into a Lapsarian state. Now if you all are aware about this forbidden fruit, the fall of man, which is in the book of Genesis in the Bible, then after eating the forbidden fruit, there took place the fall of man. Adam and Eve fell from the Eden garden, which led into a Lapsarian state, which I said the meaning of Lapsarian state is falling into a worse condition from being into a better state. That is what Lapsarian state means. So here the albatross can be taken as a substitute for the forbidden fruit, because after killing the albatross, the sailors, 200 sailors and the ancient mariner were also fallen, and they also went into a hell-like condition, right? The sixth point, from Miltonic point, the ocean can be taken as the fiery ocean. Now if another comparison is made, then if we compare this particular poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, with John Milton's magnus opus, Paradise Lost, then this ocean which is portrayed in the Rime of the Ancient Mariner can also be taken as the fiery ocean which is depicted or portrayed in Paradise Lost by Milton, right? The Lucifer and the 25% of the fallen angels were thrown into the fiery ocean or the ocean of hell. So in the same manner, these 200 sailors and the ancient mariner were also thrown into this ocean, which is similar to the ocean which is portrayed in Paradise Lost, right? Fiery ocean, the ocean of hell. So yes, moving forward to another slide. Now the core ideas of this video or this paper, yes, Coleridge's poem has its narrative unfolding in the midst of ocean. Yes, now the locale or the setting of this poem is the southern ocean, southern part of the ocean. So the major part of this this poem is being narrated in amidst the ocean. The ocean here acts as a natural entity, agency, and the protector, savior of the marine ecology by avenging the killing of its oceanic body part. The motiveless act resulted into the ocean's extreme reaction, right? Yes. So here the ocean acts as a natural entity, natural agency. The human beings has their own agency, but here the ocean acts as a natural agency and a protector or a savior of its marine ecology. Now mark the words, marine ecology, by avenging the killing of the oceanic body part. Now the bird albatross is also considered a seabird, a good omen for sailors and also a bad omen for certain sailors. So it is a part of a marine ecology, an oceanic ecology or oceanic ecosystem. So after this motiveless act of killing this albatross, the poem depicts or the poem shows the extreme reaction of the ocean. This also shows the sentiency of the ocean. With this also shows that the ocean is a sentient ocean. The ocean has an emotion. The ocean is interconnected, interwoven with its marine ecology or marine ecosystem. Fourth point, due to the reaction of the ocean, the plight of the mariner, the condition of the mariner and the sailors can be compared with the 7 stations of bereavement. Now This is a biblical comparison again. If you are aware about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, then there are certain stages of bereavement on the way to Mount Calvary, right? When Jesus was taken for his crucifixion, then on the way Jesus faced immense and like agony and pain. And similarly here the ancient mariner and the sailors also faced these 7 stations of bereavement. The first one is storm and stagnancy. So the first reaction, we can also consider these stations as the reactions of the ocean. So the first reaction of the ocean was the storm and stagnancy. When they sailed in the midst of the ocean, then the first thing they faced was the storm, and their ship was stuck into the ice, and there was a stagnancy. Now when I am saying stagnancy, here stagnancy means into a physical form as well as emotional and psychological form. There were change of opinions. So the thought pattern, the emotions of the mariner and the 200 sailors were also stagnant. They were not moving. They cannot decide what to do. So physical as well as emotional and psychological stagnancy is also been portrayed in this poem. The second station or the second reaction of this ocean is psychological ups and downs. Now after killing the albatross, there are change in opinions. The sailors first considers the albatross as a good omen, but after there is a change of opinion and they consider that this albatross was an ill omen or a bad omen, and for that reason there are psychological ups and downs. The third reaction of the ocean is division. Now at the cost of one man's act of the killing of the albatross, the ocean divides the ancient mariner apart from the 200 sailors. So at the cost of one man's act, because of the act of killing albatross, the ocean divides ancient mariner, who is the protagonist of this narrative, and the 200 sailors from him. There is a kind of division between these two groups, right? And the fourth and interesting point is drought. Now they are surrounded by waters, but yet they are facing drought. So here we can say that there is drought amidst ocean, and there is a famous line that water everywhere, nor a drop to drink. So this, all the 200 sailors including the mariner, they are surrounded by water, but they even cannot drink a drop from that. So they are facing a wet drought. We can say a wet drought or drought amidst the ocean, right? Yes. The fifth is anguish, loneliness or alienation, and this particular reaction is for the ancient mariner particularly, because after killing the ancient mariner becomes very much like he goes from anguish, loneliness, and he feels alienated, isolated, and he has no one. All the 200 sailors which were on board, they died. So this particular point is for ancient mariner. The sixth one is blessing. Now this is also a reaction after after ancient mariner blesses the water snakes. He could pray, and then after the prayer there was a heavy rainfall, and this ancient mariner could drink this water. So this also can be taken as the reaction of the ocean, because after the blessing ancient mariner could pray. The seventh and the most important one is temporary relief or endless anti-purgatorial state. Now because of this act of killing albatross, the ocean punishes the ancient mariner with a very harsh and very hard punishment, that is temporary relief or endless anti-purgatorial state. Whenever the ancient mariner feels in pain or feels agony, or whenever his heart is heavy, then he has to narrate this whole experience of his voyage to any person. Only then he will get a kind of temporary relief, and this also says that it is an endless purgatorial state. Now what is purgatory? Purgatory is something, a place where a man gets salvation. A man is free from all his deeds, but here it is endless anti-purgatorial state. This ancient mariner cannot get purgatory, he does not get salvation. So here we can also connect this with Indian context. If we take a slight detour from English literature, then in Indian context we have Aswadama. He is also not given moksha. He is also not being given this salvation. He is also present on this day on this earth. So similarly, whenever ancient mariner's heart feels heavy, he longs for here, he strives for someone to whom he can narrate his experience, who is his painful experience of voyage, and for a time being he gets a temporary relief. So moving forward, the first point in this slide, all these events were gradually and meticulously arranged by the ocean. So all these events can be considered the reaction of the ocean, and they were gradually and very specifically were arranged by the ocean as a form of punishment. Due to the cataclysmic effect reaction of the ocean, the mariner becomes moribund in all aspects of human agency, right? Due to all these effects, cataclysmic effects of the ocean, the mariner becomes moribund. Now moribund, which means who is half alive and half dead, who is not totally alive and not totally dead, or we can say in other words, who is alive for merely sake of being alive, and in all aspects, physically, emotionally, psychologically, so in all human agency, aspects of human agency. Now third point, singling out the mariner, ancient mariner, the ocean imposes the punishment of endless antipurgatorial state, self-guilt, marine grief, and eternal mourning. Now this point I discussed earlier, that this is a kind of punishment that the mariner cannot get salvation. He need to narrate his story to anybody on this earth, and for that reason he sojourns here and there in order to strive for listener, in order to find a person who is ready to hear his story. And in the beginning of this poem, he stops three of one people and narrates his grief, his marine grief, his eternal mourning to that person. Fourth point, thus his act of sharing his experience of the voyage becomes a traumatic circular recurrence which perpetually punishes him morally and conscientiously. Right? Now this particular act becomes a circular action. Once he narrates his story, then for a time being, he gets temporary relief. But then again he had to narrate this whole story to someone else. So this becomes an endless act, a circular act, a recurring act which perpetually punishes him, which eternally punishes him morally, and harming and destroying his conscience because of the act of killing that albatross. And fifth, hence the ocean in this particular poem acts as a destroyer. So S.T. Coleridge portrays this ocean as a destroyer and a protector of this marine ecology, right? So this poem also shows the interspersed connection of the human and the non-human world. This shows how the human and non-human world are connected to each other, and if the human world harms the non-human world, then the non-human world, that is ocean, is capable to take revenge, right? The second point, in this case the ocean here becomes a separate individual agency and natural entity which responds and reproves the human world beings and represents superior state authority by reacting in an unimaginable manner. Now here, as I told, that ocean becomes a protector and destroyer, and the ocean acts as an individual agency, a separate agency which takes revenge, which reproves the human beings or the human world by showing that the nature, the ocean also has the superior authority on the human beings, right? The third point, turning it to topsy-turvy, the relentless harmful motives of the human approaches towards nature and the ideal stereotypical notion that the rationalized human beings have the upper hand on the nature or ocean. So here the ocean turns all the human actions into topsy-turvy. There is a stereotypical notion that the human beings, as they are rational, as they are brilliant, as they have brains, they have the superior authority or the upper hand on the nature. But that is not the case in this poem. This poem shows that the nature also can turn all the human approaches upside down, topsy-turvy, right? So this is what the poem says. And hence the ocean in this particular poem acts as a destroyer for the mariner and the sailors, and the savior or vindicator for its ecology, ecosystem and nature. For the time immemorial, the connection of the human and non-human world, oceanic world, is interspersed and interwoven with each other. But in this case, the ocean here itself becomes a separate individual agency and natural entity which responses and reproves the human world beings and represents superior state authority by reacting in an unimaginable manner to the relentless harmful motives of the human approaches towards nature. Right? So this poem shows that how ocean gradually places certain sequence of events and takes revenge for its for the death of its marine ecology, for the death of one of its marine body parts, that is albatross. Right? So this was the critical evaluation of this poem, and I know that in order to understand this, you will have to first read the original poem, you will have to first understand the summary of the poem, and then you could go and dive into this critical points. Then it will give you a better understanding of this poem. So thank you for watching my video. If you like this video, then please subscribe my channel and share this video so it can be helpful to other students and other of your friends as well. Thank you.